Okay, we are good to go. Hello out there, everybody who's watching, who's going to be watching. This is, I cannot remember which version, but I'm going to say number 7 of the Aperitif concerts, sponsored by, put on by Tesoro, which is an international women's poetry network. We are beyond blessed to have the poets that we have um, working this concert series. I've spoken to some of the most unbelievable word singers in the business, and we have one with us today. I saw this young lady, probably a year and a half ago. And I got to tell you, I'm sitting there in the Zoom room and I'm looking and I'm going, oh Lord, this is going to be one of those. And she opened up her mouth and I almost fell out of my chair. I could not believe what I was hearing. Some of the most gorgeous, intense, beautiful, living lyricism that I've ever experienced in my career. So, Tori, honey,
Yeah.
welcome.
Hi. Thank you.
Let's see if you can live up to that intro.
Hopefully.
You'll be fine. Tell us something about yourself.
Well, I'm Tori and I'm a poet and I'm in Miami, Florida, and I'm a cat mom. Um, my cat's having a tantrum in the other room right now as we speak. So if you hear that, that's what that is. Um, I really I've been writing poetry forever. Really kind of started really doing it in high school, and then spoken word poetry in college through poetic lyricism, which is the organization at Florida State University that I spent pretty much all my time with in college, and then kind of that's what I've been doing since then, and now it's kind of my vocation. So I'm glad that I found them and that they helped me find my voice. So that's a little bit about me.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'll work for right now. Um, so I'm going to start you off with the question I start everybody off with. Why poetry and why now?
Why poetry? I feel like the kind of abstract buttons that poetry hits, like a lot of like any basic poetry professor will tell you, oh, show don't tell, show don't tell, show don't tell, which is basic, but it kind of is exactly the point, is that poetry like kind of it it uses words to like paint the human experience. And for some people that's love poems. For me, it's a lot of love poems. Because I think that love is the most incredible thing in life and most incredible part of experiencing other people. Um, but it could also be just experiencing nature. It could be experiencing trauma and healing from trauma. Um, and it does so in a way that it makes it beautiful and it makes it art. And it's writing is something that's always been how I clear my thoughts up, and I kind of collect them and put them onto a page, literally. Like everything will be scrambled until I write it out. And so that's why I like to do it through poetry, and the performance element of it is incredible to me. And then why now? I think that it's especially right now, like there's so many things to be talking about because we've been having communication issues like left and right with everybody, both on like the personal level and then on wider scale conversations. And so we need something that's kind of like a universal, like art in general is just a universal language for the human experience. And so that's why now more than ever, probably. And also there's not enough appreciation for poetry anymore. So you got to keep writing it. You got to keep listening to it, reading it, promoting it all that you can, because it's not as appreciated as it should be, but it is getting better. So
A little bit, yeah.
yeah.
You said that you had been writing forever. The memory of my first poem hits me at about 5. When did yours hit? And do you remember anything about it?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
that was it that bad or that good?
um so I think my first like real poem, because I wrote songs actually before poems, but like they weren't like really songs. They're just mostly like lyrical, and I was doing that from the age of like 6, 7. But like the first poem I wrote, it was part of it, like because I didn't learn really about what poetry was until I was maybe 8. This was when I was 9, and it was called Forever and Always. And so I was wholly convinced that when Taylor Swift came out with the Forever and Always song that she had ripped me off somehow. And that's the main thing that I remember about my first poem. I think it was something about like loving my grandparents too. It was completely unrelated to Joe Jonas or Heartbreak, but I was wholly convinced that I came up with the idea first.
So basically, what you're telling me is that Taylor Swift has hit every spot on the top, Hot 100 this week, and she started by ripping you off.
Yep,
Okay,
it should have been me.
Okay.
It should have been me. It should have been me.
See, it's important to know these things. Okay.
There you go. There you go. So yeah, that's my first poem.
Okay. You said that you write a lot about love.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I had a colleague who used to forbid her students to write about that, which I understand, unfortunately, is a trend of some sort. You want to address that a little bit?
Very much so, because actually I fell into that for the longest time. Like there was a period of time, like I literally have a poem that talks about like I used to refuse to write love poems because I used to refuse. Like I didn't care like how into a person I was or how long I'd been with them or like what I was like I was just like, oh, that's so corny. Like people, like, I'm just like, you know what? That's what people keep writing songs about. That's what people keep writing poems about. It happens all the time. It's easy. It's silly. Like it's not the hard stuff in life, but that's just simply not true. And it's pretentious. And like, there are a lot of pretentious elements myself that I've addressed over the years. And you kind of come to terms with it as you actually get more secure in yourself. And as I've gotten more secure in my writing and my ability to be a good poet, I know that like I can write about whatever I'm being called to write about, and oftentimes that's love or heartbreak, and those are very visceral experiences in life. It's like, I mean, I've had more textbook traumas too, which I'm going to share some poems about later. But still, heartbreak is one of the most devastating things, and falling in love is one of the most beautiful things like that I've experienced in this lifetime, and I think a lot of people do, and that's why there are so many songs and poems about it, is because it's such a human experience. It's not because it's basic, it's not because it's easy.
Oh, Lord knows it's not easy.
It's not. No, actually capturing that and like finding the words to capture those experiences and like how that feels is it feels impossible. That's why I keep doing it. Like my book is titled Schoolyard Crushes and Prozac Prescriptions.
I love that title.
Large chunk of it is love poems or like pseudo love poems, like kind of like, oh, what could have been sort of stuff. Like and I think that like, I mean, if that's what calls you to write poetry, music, or to make art, anything, then like you do that. Like use your pen and do that. Like I think that it's so pretentious to say like, oh, don't write love poems. Like no.
Okay. The divide, and you and I both know there is one, between self-taught, for lack of a better phrase, and academic poets. Yeah. Because that actually comes up a lot, and I think it's the most ridiculous thing on the face of the planet, but that's me. Okay. And I have been known to say, it's not a secret, that academic poets are fun to mess with. But that is not to condescend or to talk down in any way, shape, or form to poets who went through, did the steps, learned their craft that way. But do you see any difference between the two?
Oh, there's a lot of academic pretension in every area. Like poetry everything, like any, like just academia in general is a pretentious thing. But it's actually funny because I do fall into both areas, because my undergraduate degree was in English with a focus in creative writing, so I am academically actually trained in poetry. um but also, like, I started doing it a lot earlier than that, and like I would say that the bulk of what's honed my skills was through like poetic lyricism and the things I did outside of the workshops and the education and the college environment. But I kind of make fun of both extremes. Honestly, like I kind of like I really do, because like I can picture the two people in my head that I'm thinking of that encompass both extremes of that. Like the person who's just like, you know, probably a white guy, that's like very like you know, just snooty about his poetry. No one can understand it, and he thinks that makes him smarter. Not that it's, you know, not being, you know, effective. Um,
I know this guy. We'll trade names later.
and they always use the word cigarettes in their poems somewhere.
What is that?
It's academic and masculine, I guess.
Okay.
But then there's like the free spirity person who's just like, oh, anything could be a poem, and I'm just like, well, there are some objective things that make a good or effective poem, and like can hone craft, and it's like, who are you to say that this is this is my poem, and I'm saying it's a poem, and so it's just as good as your poem. I'm like, there are some poems that are better and more effective than others. That is, that you can use a metric for that. While art is subjective, there are metrics you can use. So I do make fun of both, like 100%, because I think that they're
Which
both a
is the
little,
only way to fly,
yeah,
basically.
because like you can learn from each other, and that's the thing. Like definitely there's something to gain from like academically like analyzing and learning about both reading and writing poetry, but also you have to actually experience it and learn it and experience life to have something to write about. So like you need both. You can't be in a classroom the entire time, but you also can benefit from it.
A little bit of street cred never hurts.
A little bit of street cred.
So, when's the next book, and what's it about? Or are you done right now?
I'm definitely not done right now. I'm actually writing two books at the same time. Is the thing. I
Listen
don't
to
know
her
which one.
brag, ladies and gentlemen. Two
So
books at the same
I don't
time.
know which
Okay.
one's gonna happen first, because the first one is kind of like a lengthened and revised version of my honors thesis from undergrad. It's because it wasn't quite long enough to be a book, and I didn't like it enough yet. And I'm a better poet now than I was when I
Mhm.
was 20. So like I wanna make it better and make that into something. It's called Letters to Lilith. It's about like the biblical figure Lilith and Adam and Eve, and like kind of like uses Adam as like an allegory for like patriarchal structures, and Eve is kind of like, you know, um like white feminism and things like the way that women also feed into the narrative. Then Lilith is like kind of like the mad woman in the attic sort of a thing, and then kind of like it's a feminist work, and it's going to take a lot of energy, which is why I've been writing other things in the meantime. But the other thing, I'm not ready to announce really yet, but it's got more love poems in it. So there's that.
Okay.
And it's more fun to write. So that, like, I don't know which one's gonna come out first. Like, one has been more long time coming, but the second one is probably like easier as a concept piece to put together for me. So we'll see what happens. But
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Fantastic.
yeah, there are
Um,
the books.
we are getting ready to move into the performance phase of this particular concert. Before we do that, if y'all have any questions for Tori, write them in the chat. I'll make sure that she gets them. How she's going to answer them, I have no control over, but you know, you pays your money, you takes your chances. So, Tori, honey, for the next half an hour, the stage is yours. Do your thing.
All right, que bueno. All right. Um, so what I'm gonna do that I've decided, because I 30 minutes is a long time for poetry, and so I don't want to just like read to you from my book start to finish. I'm gonna do three kind of throwback pieces, which are like probably some of the best, most popular ones that I did while I was in college. I'm gonna do three more recent ones at the end, like that have happened since I published this book, so 2022 poems. And then the in-between will just be me reading to you from my book, because I got to do my self-plug because I want you to buy my book. So, you know, yeah, so I'm going to start with probably the most popular poem that I wrote in college. And it's called Nice Guys. So you're a nice guy. You're the exception to the rule, the answer to my prayers, the proof that goodness can come with a dick. Yet you belittle me for being afraid of you. You call me sexist and ignorant and uptight because I am unable to see your superhero-like chivalry at first glance, and then you tell me that you understand. Put yourself in my shoes. When you came to college and condoms and booze, when I came to college, I bought mace and a pocket knife and a rape whistle. When you were in high school, you were taught to have safe sex while I was taught how to avoid being sexually assaulted. When you talk to a woman, you fear if the conversation will be successful and if you will say the right things and if she will be receptive to them. When I talk to a man, I fear being sexually harassed or drugged or pressured to be something that I'm not, so you don't understand. You don't know the fear that has been beaten into me by countless lessons from adults or pressures from our culture or personal experiences that have made me never want to leave my room again. It doesn't matter if 80% of the male population falls into this nice guy category when the other 20% is still out there looking just like you, talking just like you, showing no discernible difference from you until it's too late and we are considered the fools for not knowing better. When women are trained by significant others to present our open mouths for a dick to fit into upon request, when women are expected to dress to impress while also keeping ourselves covered so as not to be asking for it, when women are shown time and time again that if they do not respond accordingly to an unsolicited compliment, they will be cursed, ridiculed, insulted, and threatened, when women are brought up to always travel in groups and never go out alone and always be responsible for their own safety because you can't trust a stranger to be a decent human being. Tell me when we were supposed to learn to assume the best, to live without fear, to look at you and know that you're one of the nice guys who won't rape us, who won't hate us, who won't take us and break us and make us feel less than human and more like a doll to use at your convenience. When were we supposed to learn to trust you? I also think that's the poem that is how I met Stacy. So
I do believe it is,
there it is.
and it still makes me hurt in a lot of places, rejoice in some others, and kind of want to cry.
There you go. That's how the topic makes me feel. So it conveyed it. Okay. So I'm gonna ease off a little bit, then dive back in, and then go to my book. So this is, I wrote, I think probably my senior year of college. It's called Maybe Poetry, and it's really about writing poetry. So it's kind of touching on the interviews and stuff. So felt relevant. I always get these weird tingles inside of me to let me know I'm full of poetry. Or is it love and that I need to write? Or is it dive off a cliff head first into rushing waters to see if maybe, and just maybe, just a strong electrified maybe rattling around in my veins like bees, I'll spread wings and slice the atmosphere like cheesecake, or turn into foam and dance among the waves, or feel this old life peeling off me. No, ripping itself from the fabric of my skin as I split the air in two on my way down, resting my entire world on that maybe. And it's tangents like this that make me wonder how anyone could not consider themselves artists, or maybe just children scrawling down notes with the entire spectrum of human emotion constantly bursting into little worlds of technicolor. Or are they universes? Because personally, I feel these poems, these emotion souls, entities beating, pulsing inside me, just dying to be expressed. No, be experienced, lived, and I see them rippling underneath the skin of my forearms, of my chest, of my hands, feet, and legs, and maybe all of them are just different versions of that same maybe. but maybe everyone else has it right. Who am I to call myself an artist when all I do is love, no, live and breathe my poems into people I brushed past in life, shocking as ice water and just as thrilling as it creeps into their veins and into their brains and into their ever-beating hearts. Maybe I'm a narcissist, or maybe I'm just clinging to the hopes of making a difference. Tell me if my kisses taste to you more like caramel or ghost peppers. When you think of them, do you feel warm or on fire? Line of thinking is why I can't ever tell if it's love or poetry. Maybe the line between them is thinner than my heartstrings, always mending, always breaking. Or maybe the line doesn't even exist at all and we just draw it to be comfortable, maybe. But maybe I'm just writing and writing, no bleeding and breathing all of this poetry because I'm selfishly hoping it'll wrap around the entire world and smack right back into me, face first, experience written into my chest. And once it's finally back, I'll know how it felt when you first read it. No, when you first enveloped it and made it your own by gracing your eyes over it. Maybe I love you. Maybe I work you into a poem and paint your life for you in vibrant neons because I want to see how your eyes consume those words, how your heart beats them back out, how my own poetry, my own love can reverberate back at me because the echo is so much more beautiful than the flatness of a poem never read or a love never shared. Maybe I'm just high off these tingles. Maybe I've just never really come down, but maybe life is a little more exciting, no, worthwhile and memorable and real as the wet grass that tickles our toes at 3 a.m. in a nearby park when you are floating above all of it, looking down, seeing everything unfold before you. Maybe that's where poetry, love, life, everything is born.
My word.
And now I'm going to depress you all again. So
Thanks for the warning.
yeah, you're welcome. No, so this is a trauma piece. So it's a lot, but I wrote this when I was 19 years old. For a show called Death of Ignorance that Poetic Lyricism did a lot, and the whole idea of it is just to kind of like destroy ignorance and talk about things that people don't want to talk about, and this is one of them. So we're putting our serious hats back on. It's called Dear Anonymous. Dear Anonymous, I can still feel your skin, still taste your mouth on my tongue, see your grin in my dreams, smell your scent on my shirt when I never wanted to in the first place. I still hear your insincere words slurred, your face, though blurred, still burns its memory into my mind. I tried to tell you that I wasn't yours. Wasn't yours to borrow, keep, release. Wasn't yours to take, break, sedate. Wasn't yours to use, peruse, or abuse. Wasn't yours. Wasn't yours. I still can't say your name. Though God knows I think little else on some days, I still mindlessly search myself for things I know aren't there. The things you took from me, the things I need for an ounce of sanity, believe me, their absence is heavier than the sum of their parts. My self-respect did little to make itself known, but the hole it left shattered dignity, assurance, and faith as well by not being there to string them together. The collapse provided a sick flick of the domino that destroyed love, trust, and lust as well. Boom! Each domino falls harder than the last, and their thuds project deafening echoes of the past. Pride, importance, stability, innocence fall with a crash, and I am left with nothing but a jagged ring of broken dominoes that used to stand with promise and strength and courage around my pillar of self-respect. And it sickens me that 1 in 3 American women will be sexually assaulted in their lifetime. 68% of these cases will go unreported. 98% of rapists will never spend a day in jail, and they, like you, will go on to ruin someone else's life over and over, and yet no one wants to hear about it anymore. It's just the same story, told again and again. No one cares just how long I lie awake in my bed. No one cares just how much you messed with my head, dear Anonymous. Next time, just get consent.
Oh my.
Whew. So, yeah, I wrote that when people were telling me that they're sick of hearing rape poems.
Yeah.
At shows, I was just like, you're sick of hearing rape poems. I'm sick of being raped. So there you go. Stop raping people and we'll stop writing rape
I
poems.
hear yeah, I hear those stats all the time, the ones that you had in the poem.
Yeah.
And it kills me on a million different levels every single time.
Yeah. But
that's the sort of piece that will haunt me for a while. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. That means I did my job. All right. So we're gonna move on to my book for a bit. So the whole concept of this book is kind of finding the intersection between like first loves and then like also first navigations through mental health, and how like just a lot of the first experiences in life kind of become a mosaic that makes up who we end up becoming. So I'll start with like the first poem in the book. It's called But First, a Disclaimer. Mi vida. I've never been good at letting go. If I were to touch poison ivy, I wouldn't snap my hand back and scramble to heal the burn. I'd sit among the weeds and wrap myself in a blanket of stinging stars. I'd fall asleep not even recognizing the itch as something wrong, because at least it's familiar. At least it's a pain I can recognize, can sleep off, can pretend is all in my head like everything else. All right. And this is my favorite poem in the book. To perform, at least. It's called Suffocating. This is a mental health poem. Breathe in, breathe out. On a scale of 1 to 10, how are you feeling today? 1 meaning 1 foot in the grave and the other barely grabbing the edge. 10 meaning tenacious, vivacious, and every other acious that can describe how elated you are. Maybe you're feeling a 5 if you're doing just fine. There is no right answer, of course, unless you consider anything below a 4 the right answer. 4 because we care for you and can't let anything bad happen. So let's lock that shit down before it becomes a problem, because we can't have you, I mean your brain shutting down on us now. But answer honestly. On a scale of 1 to 10, how are you feeling today? No pressure, but you aren't the only one with problems. And we need to know how serious this is before we can move on. Move on. Can you at least say a 6? Sorry, sick of this? No, at least a 6. I'll just jot down a 7 if it's all the same to you. Then you look chipper enough today. Keep that head up. We all know what happened when you last reached a 2 as in too fucking bad. You've got shit to do. I think we could aim for an 8 by tomorrow. If you 8 before tomorrow, we could even put a 9, but I'm not sure you're there yet, and it's asinine to shoot too high. So how about that 7 again? What, 3? That won't do, you see. That has to be documented, prioritized, considered a problem. Other people have real problems. Can't you see? We don't have time for a crisis. If you're gonna fuck up, at least do it right. Breathe in, breathe out.
I could not love that more.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Let's see if I can find a happy one. I know I've got some. That's not a happy poem.
Happy, sad, tragic.
You know.
Knock
yourself. Tragic.
Hey, babe, do you, boo?
Okay, this is called Littlest Surprises. It's a very small poem, but it's cute and it's fun. You were the prom dress I fell in love with. You hugged my curves and held my eyes, pushed me out of my comfort zone in the best ways. And I didn't even notice until I took you home and tried you on in my own mirror, in my own room, that you have pockets on top of it all. Every girl knows that struggle.
Oh, yeah. No. I refuse to own anything that doesn't have at least one pocket.
It's the first thing I tell people if they compliment a dress that I'm wearing that has pockets. It's thanks, it has pockets. Okay, so this is a fun one to write. This is called If Hallmark Made a Card for Everything. How many puns could they make out of sorry about your colonoscopy? How many cardboard castles might be dedicated to sweet romantic musings for the side chick on Valentine's Day? What colors would they use to capture a sorry your parents sold your childhood home condolence card? I bet they'd have a hell of a time figuring out the details for a congrats on losing your virginity pop-up. Or perhaps maybe something along the lines of sorry I came in 17 seconds IOU would be a more likely bestseller. I doubt I speak for just myself when I say I'd be browsing the fuck that guy girlfriend cards if the aisles went on forever and the card stock depicted every godforsaken human emotion, experience, wish, mistake. What sentiments might overflow my mailbox and what cheesy one-liners would I feel compelled to stuff into crinkly envelopes? Maybe if everything came on an overpriced compulsory gesture, we'd have less question marks and more, how the fuck did you find a card for my eating disorder? What drawer does this even get stuffed into? God, can't Hallmark go back to making fucking movies instead? I thought they profited off people's innate horror at being honest. And that's if Hallmark made a card for everything. And it's almost Hallmark movie
Oh
season.
my word. Oh, please don't remind me. If I have to look up and see one more chick with snow in her hair looking up adoringly at somebody that she met falling over, in the produce aisle, 3 weeks ago, somebody's gonna get hurt. That's just
Oh, I get it. All right. This is called Drunk in My Kitchen's Church, and I wrote this poem when I'd been living in New York for about a year and a half at this point, and I had not been writing. Like it amazes me to think about now because I mean I'm back to writing at a healthy amount. I write all the time, and I'm expressing myself more. But there was this point I just got blocked up, and I just had like a year, the driest year of my life with writing, and it was just I'm like, but I'm in New York, so I wrote this poem, and this broke that. Drunk in My Kitchen's Church. I don't remember how you got stuck in my throat. No, this isn't another sexy poem. No, this isn't another trauma poem. This, my darling, is my exhaustion at gargling my own heartbeats. This, my love, is my frustration at counting bees in my veins as I try to calm down. This, my dear, mi vida, is my plea for release from the chokehold of my own nonsense. And it's funny because anyone else who is also fed up with this barbed wire sweater has noticed about 5 seconds in what this concoction of ramblings and cacophony of nonsensical characters is about. Yes, my lover, my steadfast anxiety, and oh, I'd have loved to maintain ambiguity, to maintain the cloak of imagery, of metaphor, of abstract that would turn this into an artful piece of writing instead of an on-the-nose cry for help. But I think I cut off my nose to spite the mind behind it a long time ago, if you get me, and I'm just tired now. Sana coliterana doesn't work for everything. I'm tired of choking on wine to stop hyperventilating, to give myself a tangible problem to deal with so I don't stay doggy paddling up Schitt's Creek. Yeah, it's okay if you laughed at that image. It's fucking funny. But yes, it's also okay if you frowned, if you're wondering why I'm not committed, if you're stuck between pity and horror with no idea where the scale is supposed to balance out, because I am constantly all of those things at once when I'm in this poem. When I'm dancing with the words on the page, trying to make them love me, trying to make them my friend, to make them more of an worn out life vest that squeeze a little too tight on some days and don't even inflate at all on others. It's either this or splashing sour red wine on white countertops, ruining an innocent blood orange that was in the way. It was only kind of worth it. The wine is shit. It tastes like communion. But maybe that's a good way to keep me from overfilling the glass again. I wish I could tell you that this poem was drunk, that it splashed out of me, that it was spaced out or high or driven by some force that wasn't my own, because honestly, it's embarrassing that this is the most coherent stream I've stitched together in about a year. And I thought that was the inspiration people moved to New York to find. God, I hope you think I'm crazy, because at least I know you'll think of me. Okay, I'm going to do one more from my book, and then I'm going to do my 2022 poetry, because we got to stay relevant. All right. I think this is relevant, actually. It's called I Swore I'd Never Write Love Poems. I swore I'd never write love poems before you managed to make it my vocation, my area of expertise devoted to an expertise before I knew eyes could look like yours, before could make blinking feel like forever with how much I miss seeing them in those sliced seconds, before I knew that your hand on the small of my back would feel like the same warm velvet as rum swimming through my body, before you showed me that love and poetry cannot exist separately. Am I a poet yet? Cool. Oh, you're muted.
Oops. Yes, I am. Not anymore. I said that is a proper love poem.
There we go. It's self-aware. All right. So I think I'm gonna do these 2022 poems in the order of which I wrote them.
Okay.
So
You've got about 10 minutes. So
I got it.
You're good to go.
I got it. I am an expert at timing.
Oh, listen at this.
This is called 10-pound breakups. Loving you has been my worst kept secret. It took losing you for the words to tumble out like wine from a broken bottle for me to live as honestly as I've always pretended to. Then I got drunk on the massacre while your eyes poured nothing but pity. I don't know how to not be dramatic about you because anything less than poetry feels insincere. The careful words washed over me, so polite, promising I'm perfect, but they're drowned out by the cruel cutting honesty laced between them, by the shame of knowing I have nothing to show for the vulnerability vomit I tried so hard to portray as graceful. I'm still wasted from trying to drink away the ocean between us. I scrapped my canvas, repainted myself as someone who doesn't have needs, have hurts, have dreams to keep you. I set myself on fire like a dollar store candle to make the air around me more appealing, so maybe you'd want to breathe it. I don't sing in the car with you. I don't know what you look like when you cry, especially not for me. I measure my breakups by the weight they pull off my body as I mourn. I've packaged my worst nights into the trademark double-digit category, but you might just break the fucking scale before I stop falling asleep with my cheek pressed against the bathroom tile. I'll regret being born on the wrong side of an ocean. I'll regret how goodbye felt in my mouth. I'll regret that it's not you, but when I'm healed, covered in scar tissue, thick as armor, it'll be your turn to regret being the weight I've lost for the rest of your life.
And F you too, buddy. Okay.
F you too, buddy. All right. So I gotta find this other poem.
Well, while she's looking for that, let me remind you all that we do enthusiastically accept donations, any that you would care to make. It keeps the lights on at Tesoro and it gets our artists paid. So I'm going to put, yes, that would be Tori. So I'm going to put that information in the chat section. If you can, fantastic. If you can't, we will love you anyway.
Alrighty. Well, this poem is called Body Paint. My body is a motherfucking canvas. One I have not always been kind to. It has been left in burning buildings, drowned in thick paint, and damaged by knives for people who've indicated it would look better as confetti. My body is not here to decorate your party, but it is here to dance, to carry me from room to room as we outgrow the spaces we occupy, and it's past time to stop caring about the people we leave behind in the process. They have always been free to move with us. And this work of art can still thrive spotlit in its own gallery. My body is not Barbie sized, but at least it won't snap under its own weight. It is strong. It has learned to showcase its pain as beauty, even when I punched my own holes in it for not looking differently. My body is a money-making machine, so long as I hate it properly. If I'm feeling myself today, I'm still expected to lie about it, because to be devastatingly insecure is to be humble, is to be humble, is to be gentle, is to be feminine, is to be on the right road to heaven. Who cares if the vehicle is a casket as long as my makeup is fresh? My body is a Jackson Pollock style masterpiece. Every ugly color I or you or he or she has slung upon it has melded into a goddamn rainbow. And I know any critic who says they can make the exact same design is not unkind, but foolish. And I pity them. No canvas should spend its lifetime pristine, fresh, blank. And regardless of whether it is beautiful to you, my body is proud to say that it's the image of a flawless mess of paint. Thank you. And then here's my last poem, I think.
Oh no.
I know. It's called Dancing on Tightropes. My mother says I cry too much. But maybe it's because I've survived too much, worked my ass off just to come full circle yet again too much, felt deafened by the drop of a hairpin on carpet too much, hit play again on games I know I always lose too much, did too much, said too much, been too much. But my God, just sitting next to you on my worn out couch, tension delicate as a gossamer, a hair trigger, a sheet of glass that only we'd ask to dance on, I feel like just enough. I'm not 16 anymore. I've been kissed before, but not like this. It's bliss. It's reborn innocence with a twist. I'm doing acrobatics on high wires I'd never come near before. It's been years or more since I felt this goddamn beautiful in a sweatshirt. I think my cheeks could get addicted to smiling like this. I've never had sugar this sweet without paying for it in cavities and stomach aches. The taste is mesmerizing. Poetry sparking against the tip of my tongue. I want to tell you everything. Stories and secrets, confessions of weakness, fears and desires, blizzards and fires, the portrait I spent a lifetime creating. I want to know which colors are your favorite and what you think of my line work. I want you to feel safe enough to share right back, to know that I am infamously incapable of finding you to be too much. I hope you live similarly. I hope you prefer planting roots to running shoes. I hope you cry when things are beautiful and laugh when they are sad, that you'll love how I dance even when it's bad, that you don't scare easy, and I don't mean with movies, and that you feel the vibrations and the silence when you share space with twin flames. I don't know how to read your mind yet, or how much is too much, or what we are creating. It's fragile, it's delicate, it's new. But is it all right how much I adore dancing on tightropes with you?
Oh my word.
And
If I wasn't already a hardcore romantic, that would have done it.
there we go. There we go. So I'm like 2 minutes out, so I could
You got time.
I could pull something else out.
Yeah, do it.
All right, so
If it runs a little bit over, that's fine.
I think I can manage. All right, so so this is called I Even Fucked Up Communion.
As a former Sunday school teacher, I gotta hear this one.
I even fucked up communion. I choked on the blood of Christ. The cup of salvation became my worst temptation, served sharp and sour straight from Satan to my lips in a bloodstained chalice. Nothing about its grip could be considered sacred. I've traded love, trust, and friendship for the pressed grapes that used to look like sunsets. Cut my fingertips on broken glass and my tongue on harsh words I never thought would cross my lips. Screamed into dusty pillows and worn out steering wheels that it's not worth it, but I still don't stop, don't stop, don't stop, don't stop, don't stop. Anyway, will it even be enough for me to turn away if I'm staring at a bottle at the bottom of a grave? It's kind of a bummer note to end on, actually.
It's life, and it's realistic.
It is life. It is life.
Because not everything ends with a bow on top and a candy cane in the middle.
So here's a tiny poem that's on a better note, just to leave everyone in a better mood. It's called Redefining Special.
Okay.
you don't look at me like I'm the only girl in the world. You look at me like you've met every girl and know for a fact that I'm the one you want to spend 20 lifetimes loving.
There you
There
go.
we go. That's cute.
No, actually, quite honestly, that is the way that my father looked at my mother until the day he died.
Stop.
See? So yeah, I can feel that one. Your timing is impeccable.
Thank you.
We are just coming to finish point. So thank you everyone so much for coming. For those of you who are here, for those of you who are going to watch it later on our YouTube channel, um, open up your mics and give this lady some roses. That was an absolutely incredible performance. Tori, thank you so much. I
Thank
I
you.
I have no words, which is a really bad thing for a poet to have to say, but
Yeah, well, it happens.
it
Happens to the best of
happens.
us. Thank
Again,
you so
if
much.
you, as we, it's that level of, how shall I say, magical brilliance that makes Tesoro what it is, that makes you the incredible writer that you are. Thank you, my dear, for torching the mic for us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you
We
for
will be
having me.
back. Absolutely, honey. We'll be back next week with what is actually going to be our second round of poets in this series. It promised to be fun and frivolity and a little bit of scandal. Well, who am I kidding? This is Tesoro. A lot of scandal for the
Good.
upcoming weeks. Whichever time zone y'all are in, I never know. I don't even guess anymore. Have an absolutely fantastic weekend. We love you all.
Thank you. Bye.